Greetings friends, Paul here, and I'd like to clarify a couple points about 5G relating to my previous video and some comments that I got on that video. First, 5G on our Wi-Fi routers pertains to 5 gigahertz of transmission as opposed to traditional Wi-Fi, which is 2.4 gigahertz. So roughly double the frequency. That is in contrast, however, to 5G cellular technology that's being rolled out now at 28 to 90 gigahertz. Now in that case, 5G in cell technology stands for 5 generation, 5G for generation. This one on the Wi-Fi router is 5G for gigahertz. If you want to disable 5 gigahertz in your Wi-Fi environment, I've also got some questions about this. Access your router configuration utility depending on your router brand. Typically, it's the local address in your browser, which is 192.168.0.1, like those of you who experiment with JavaScript and programming for the web know your local host. Well, it's typically the same address, or you can get there through an HTTP address, like for Netgear, it's routerlogin.net. Linksys, I believe the suffix is .local. Google it for your brand, but it's the same way you set up your Wi-Fi network password. It's the same way, however you got into that, is how you get into either enable or disable the SSID identifier for that transmission band, whether 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz. So I've disabled my 5 gigahertz because I just don't want that radiation beaming into my environment all the time. Even if you're not connected to a device and that's enabled under your router configuration utility, that 5 gigahertz frequency is still radiating throughout your environment looking for devices continually. So disable it if you don't want to use that. Now, having said that, 5 gigahertz on the Wi-Fi is really fast for us average users. And on the downloads, it's about double from what I've observed. And the upload for me is about 45% improvement. So that's considerable, and you've got to weigh the pros and cons when you're doing that. But for me, it's just not quite worth it because I'm in the process of reducing my EMF or electromagnetic field exposure as many, well, it's probably all of you are who are watching this video. And when you're on Wi-Fi on cell phone, as I often am, and you don't want to be picking up that 5 gigahertz frequency, just don't sign into 5G Wi-Fi networks. Usually you can tell with a 5 designation or 5G after the name of the network will typically tell that. Although, guys, we're rolling out towards, it's going to become increasingly popular. I'm guessing that pretty soon 5 gigahertz is going to be probably the only band on Wi-Fi, and we're just going to have to live with it. But for now, you can usually just tell the distinction with that 5 in the network name. And those of you who are feeling like 5G cell networks, again, I'm not talking 5 gigahertz on the Wi-Fi. Let's move on to the phone aspect now, because that's where the 28 to 90 gigahertz, that's where this applies. I can see why many people, including myself, are and communities, including the San Francisco Bay Area and Belgium and the Netherlands and other communities around the United States, and legislators are questioning the implementation of this new protocol because of its potentially deleterious effects. So if you're concerned about that, I am too. You know, the boon is, the plus side is that these speeds are really impressive and they're really great. And again, as I mentioned in that previous video, for real-time applications like in the medical field or in the defense world, for real-time communications can account for millions of dollars in revenues and efficiency. By all means, 5G cellular technology in that bandwidth, that higher frequency, pretty high frequency bandwidth, guys, it's millimeter wave. Okay, it's in the microwave spectrum. So we're creeping up there towards, I mean, we're quite a ways off from ionizing radiation. However, there's already documented evidence that long-term exposure, even to 3G, remember when we had that 10 years ago? There's even evidence about laboratory rats developing cancer with 3G with really direct high-intensity exposure for long periods of time. So even though these frequencies are still non-ionizing, and again, I have previous videos about that, check all that out. The direct exposure we have to these devices on a regular 24/7 basis, cumulatively, from what I'm gleaning, the effects are not good. And those of you who are wary of this have good reason to be. And I'm looking forward to reading your comments below. Please share this video and my last video with anyone you know who's interested in mitigating, reducing the effects of EMFs, electromagnetic field radiation in our living environments, particularly as we're sheltering in place, staying at home. We're using the devices more now than ever for survival. We're using it as our means of communication, getting our information, staying connected. And as the technology is increasing and the efficiency is increasing, some of those things may come with a cost. And at some point, there may be a point of diminishing returns where the higher in frequency we go begins to undermine the health of the end consumer. We're going to reach a point where we're going to need to take a step back from those diminishing returns based on the efficiency and the performance we get as compared or versus our own biology, that as a cellular soft structure that needs to survive and is not designed to withstand high frequency radiation on a regular basis. It's a great topic. Thanks to you, my community here on this channel, Epic Alternatives, for posting so many interesting comments and questions. And we'll see you guys soon.